All right, folks, time for probably the biggest UFC show we're going to have all year. UFC 205, the very first UFC show ever held in New York City. The first to happen in the state of New York since, I believe, UFC 8. So it's a huge homecoming, and for those of you who haven't really been following the story, it's been a long process. New York was one of the first states in the nation to actually legalize. They were actually the first state in the union to actually legalize MMA in 1996. But because of some protests from the assembly, they ended up banning it in 1997, and it's never really been overturned. Strangely enough, it allowed amateur MMA, but not professional MMA. So the more dangerous, like smokehouse stuff going on in boiler rooms, that's okay with legislators, but not, the professional stuff with medically trained staff and other legal safeguards. We don't need that. But it's neither here nor there. MMA is finally legal in this great state of New York, and we got a big one coming up in a couple of days. And I'm doing this video a couple of days in advance, so it's about 2 weeks out. So the card could and is likely to change. And if it does substantially, I'll do another video with my predictions. But just for now, nothing too crazy has happened. It seems pretty stable at this point. Let's get to it. My predictions. For the lightweight title, it's Conor McGregor taking on Eddie Alvarez. Conor McGregor, obviously the 145-pound champion, and Eddie Alvarez 155. McGregor fresh off beating Nate Diaz at 170. So, I mean, historically, it's a very, very big thing for the UFC. This could be the first time in history we've ever had an MMA fighter in the UFC hold two different weight class titles simultaneously. It's been attempted in the past, never realized. McGregor trying to make history here. And, just looking at this, I mean, McGregor, he's a good fighter. We know that. He's got knockout power. Very underrated wrestling. All right submissions, but not great. His cardio, not the best in the world, but it's enough to hang with Nate Diaz for 25 minutes. It's good enough. But you look at Eddie Alvarez, and I think that in just about every single way except the reach advantage, Alvarez has McGregor beat. I think he's a better striker, definitely more dynamic, better wrestler, better takedown defense, better submission, better cardio. Just all in all, he has far, far more weapons than Conor McGregor. And I think McGregor's going there and do basically what Conor McGregor does in his fights, which is just going in like the ultimate warrior, throw everything his opponent in the first round, get tired, and then try to hang in there with a jab for the next 4 rounds. So unless McGregor clips Alvarez early, and let's face it, he could do that. He did that to Jose Aldo. So that's a possibility, very distinct. But I think, Alvarez, he's just such a higher caliber fighter of McGregor in every way. It's one of those things where Alvarez, he's got a chin on him too. He can take some punches, which I don't think some of McGregor's earlier opponents really have had. So just looking at it, I can't root against Alvarez. It's one of those strange things where nobody's really kind of touting how good he is as a fighter. I mean, this guy has been beating up Shinya Aoki, going to Bellator, beating up, Pitbull, beating up Michael Chandler, just beating up all these dudes. Even in the UFC, Anthony Pettis, former champion, Gilbert Melendez, former champion. He's just a fantastic, phenomenal, super fast, hard-hitting, great wrestling, outstanding defensive takedown kind of fighter. And McGregor, I mean, he's all of those too, but Alvarez, he's just that much better in every category. My prediction, I think McGregor tries to end it early. He tries to go for the home run shot. He can't take it. Alvarez defends. The takedown attempts are going to be really bad on McGregor's part. And I think Alvarez is going to hang in there for another 2 or 3 rounds. And I think by the time we get to the fourth, McGregor's going to be completely gassed. That's when Alvarez takes him down. And then I see him finishing it either by TKO with ground and pound or submission. I think I'm going to go with submission. I think that's more Alvarez's motif. That's certainly the one area where he has a huge, undeniably, just massive advantage over McGregor. And I think he gets it. Alvarez wins. He maintains the title. And then we start talking about what Conor McGregor's going to do. Maybe we'll get that Jose Aldo fight. Maybe we won't. But if I were a betting man, I would probably bet the house on Eddie Alvarez winning this one and finishing McGregor. And making everybody in UFC very, very upset with the booking was not supposed to happen. All right, moving along. Our second of 3 championship bouts. Tyrone Woodley defending the 170-pound welterweight title against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And this is a very interesting matchup. I think it's certainly more evenly paced than the Alvarez McGregor fight. And I was actually in the arena for Stephen Thompson's only professional loss. It was against Matt Brown, UFC 145 in Atlanta. So eyewitness history. If this guy goes on to have a dynamite career where he only has one loss, I was there for it. And Tyron Woodley, obviously, he beat Robbie Lawler in a pretty big upset. He's 16-3 as a fighter. Stephen Thompson 13-1. I'm looking at the stats here and trying to see, where there's like a huge advantage. Obviously, Stephen Thompson, he's got the height advantage, but only a minimal, like a 1-inch reach advantage, which is kind of crazy. As far as significant strikes landed per minute, Thompson is leading the charge there. It's pretty much average defense for both guys as far as standing up. Not really much to talk about there. Takedown average favors Woodley. Takedown defense also favors Woodley. Submission favors Woodley. So we're talking about a 5-round fight here. Stephen Thompson, he's got a gas tank on him. Tyron Woodley, he can hit hard, but Thompson, he's more dynamic. He can go in there and hit you with kicks, he can hit you with knees, elbows, all sorts of stuff. Tyron Woodley, I don't know. I mean, as good a fighter as he is, I really question his cardio going in the later rounds. And I think the longer this fight drags on, the more it favors Thompson. For whatever reason, I think this one will go the distance, and I think Thompson ends up dominating like the last 3 rounds. But Woodley, to his credit, he'll hang in there. It will be fairly close the first couple of rounds, but then it'll be all Thompson. And I think Thompson should walk away from this one with a pretty facile unanimous decision victory to become the new welterweight champion. All right, and now this is the part where I was not looking forward to at all. Not that it's going to be a bad fight. It's the fact that I don't want to pronounce any of this stuff. We've got Joanna Champion taking on Carolina Challenger. And that's what we're going to call them for the rest of this article or video upload, whatever we're doing. That's going to be their names because, man, this is tough. How weird is it that Poland is dominating the women's strawweight division too? Like, who would have ever thought that would be like the big MMA hotbed for women's competition? Poland. Wow. Those Poles, I'm telling you. So, yeah, this is actually a very interesting matchup because both these fighters are undefeated. Height pretty much the same, reach the same. Both these women can throw a lot of punches per minute. Looks like Carolina Challenger is actually eating more punches per minute, so that could work against her. Defense favors Joanna Champion. Takedown average, both these fighters really aren't keen on wrestling. Takedown accuracy leans toward Champion. Takedowns defended actually kind of favors Carolina Challenger. Submissions will not be a factor. There's going to be a lot of punching in this one. There's going to be not a whole lot of takedown defense. It's going to go standing. I think this is one of those fights where whoever gets knocked down first loses. And I think it's going to be Carolina Challenger. I think she's going to go in there and get rocked a couple of times, and from there it's just going to be a pretty straightforward, ground and pound victory for Joanna Champion. I think she gets to call the referee stoppage late in the 3rd round because we don't want this to go a full 25 minutes unless it's really, really awesome, which it could be. I mean, all these fights on the main card are just awesome sounding on paper, so there's that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Joanna Champion to win 3rd round TKO. Chris Weidman taking on Yoel Romero. Yes, the soldier of God. The guy who's probably best known for failing a drug test and then cutting a promo against gay marriage that one time. Taking on Chris Weidman, the guy who is immortal for ending the legacy of Anderson Silva. You kind of figure whoever wins this one is probably really close to getting a shot at the middleweight championship. If not an automatic shot against Michael Bisping, at least something going up against Ronaldo Souza at some point. But look at this. It's a really interesting matchup. Height advantage favors Weidman. Reach advantage favors Weidman. Significant strikes ratios pretty even. Looks like Chris Weidman's eating more punches per minute. Defense favors Romero. Takedown average favors Weidman by a large margin. As far as takedown accuracy, same thing. Takedown defense favors Weidman, and submission averages definitely favors Weidman. Yeah, Chris Weidman's going to win this fight. He's a New York boy. Yoel Romero has no cardio whatsoever. He hits hard, but Chris Weidman, I think he's much, much better defensively against the kind of striking Romero's good at, which is just up close and flurries. So I think Weidman, he weathers a pretty heavy storm for Romero early, And then from there, it's just him punching. He gets a takedown, ground and pound. I think he ends up winning a very, very facile unanimous decision. And we'll see what happens from there. He probably deserves a title shot after that. Kelvin Gastelum taking on Donald Cerrone. This is crazy. This is like the 5th match from the top. Should be a really, really good fight. One of these guys, I'm not really sure if they're going to be like an automatic lightweight championship contender, because it's a really, really stacked division, and we haven't even seen all of the lightweight champion fighters that I think are in that range yet on the card, which tells you how stacked it is. But they'll probably be thrust into a title eliminator at the least. So Gastelum 13-2, Cerrone 31-7. As far as height, it favors Donald Cerrone. He's almost half a foot taller than Gastelum. Reach advantage 2 inches for Cerrone. Significant strikes landed per minute favors Cerrone, even though Cerrone is eating more punches per minute. Defense slightly goes towards Gastelum. Takedown average slightly tilts towards Cerrone. Takedown accuracy about even. Takedown defense slightly favors Cerrone. Submissions favors Cerrone by a large margin. I'm going to go Cerrone by submission late in the 3rd. I just think it's going to be a pretty good striking contest in the 1st round. Slow down substantially in the 2nd. Cerrone gets a takedown, and then it's over. So there's that. Miesha Tate taking on Raquel Pennington in our curtain jerker from the main card. Let's see what we got here. Miesha Tate 18-6, 8-6 for Pennington. Height pretty negligible, reach negligible. Strikes landed per minute favors Pennington. Accuracy also, as far as striking goes, towards Pennington. But she's also eating more punches per minute than Miesha Tate, and her defense is slightly better though. Takedown leans towards Miesha Tate. Takedown accuracy favors Pennington, surprisingly. Submission averages go for Miesha Tate. I think Miesha Tate's got to be the very, very heavy favorite for this one, but I think Raquel Pennington is going to win it. I think it's going to be a very close striking contest in the 1st round. Miesha Tate's going to eat some hard punches in the 2nd. She's going to slow down substantially in the 3rd, and then Pennington's going to ground her out in the 3rd. Maybe not enough to get the finish, but enough to make it very, very close and definitely win it on the judges' scorecard. Pennington, unanimous decision. First of my big upsets. How stacked of a show is UFC 205? So stacked that we've got Frankie Edgar fighting on FS1. This is a pretty big matchup as far as the featherweight division is concerned. Edgar, 19-5-1, 25-12 for Stevens. Height advantage goes towards Stevens. Reach advantage Stevens. Strikes landed per minute favors Edgar. Accuracy favors Stevens. Strikes absorbed per minute, pretty much the same. Defense the same. Takedown leans towards Edgar. Accuracy and takedown defense pretty much even. Submissions pretty much the same. Frankie Edgar really didn't have an answer for Jose Aldo's leg kicks, but I think he's going to go in there. Oh, the answer, I think, how ironic, because that's his nickname. I think Frankie Edgar's going to go in there and basically kind of keep Stevens at a range. It's going to be a pretty technical jabbing contest, I think. Stevens is not going to get the takedown. I don't think Edgar's going to go for takedowns. I think it's going to be standing for 3 rounds. And I think Edgar walks away doing the most damage. He should win at unanimous decision. Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Michael Johnson. And like I said, this could be like the co-main event for like another pay-per-view, and it's on FS1 for free. Crazy, 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 crazy show we have here. As far as Khabib, you should know about him, 23-0, 18-10 for Michael Johnson. Height, virtually identical. Major reach advantage for Johnson, 73 inches, 64 inches. That's huge. Strikes landed per minute, about even. Accuracy slightly favors Khabib. Strikes absorbed per minute goes towards Michael Johnson. Defense average. Takedowns, Khabib, he's averaging 6.71 per fight compared to 0.62 for Johnson. So wrestling, huge advantage for Khabib. Takedown defense, pretty negligible. Submission average is negligible. Can Michael Johnson get the knockout in the first 2 minutes? If he can, he'll win this fight. If he doesn't, he's dead. Khabib, his dude is just a mauler. He's a guy who grew up in Russia. He was wrestling bears, no joke. He was a kid. There's videos online of him like as a 5-year-old fighting grizzlies. It's crazy. This dude is like the anorexic Fedor. He's got a huge chin. Michael Johnson's going to hit him with a lot of stuff, but it's not going to do anything. As soon as Khabib takes this guy down, the fight's over. Khabib's going to win this one. Probably on the ground. Probably not a submission, but I think some very, very nasty ground and pound. That is if he doesn't pull out, because this guy is very injury prone. But yeah, Khabib should win. I think he wins it in the second round, late stoppage. That's just my opinion. Rashad Evans taking on Tim Kennedy on FS1. My goodness, a stacked show. All right, Rashad, height's pretty much negligible, reach negligible, significant strike. Wow, this is a very, very, very even match. Even though Tim Kennedy, I think his defense in terms of striking is a little bit better. Takedown averages lean towards Rashad. Takedown defense slightly goes towards Kennedy. Submissions goes towards Kennedy. Rashad, I mean, he's really, really close to retirement. I think he's one really, really terrible mauling away from this being a career. Tim Kennedy, not really. He's also kind of on a downward trajectory, I think. But he probably has more fights in left than Rashad. Rashad hasn't fought in a long time. Kennedy's also had some substantial time off, but I just think he's in better shape overall. Rashad's going to get hit early and often in the first. He's not going to get the takedown, and I think Kennedy's going to drub him out from there. Kennedy should win it by decision. Really not the most interesting fight in the world. Vicente Luque, the silent assassin, taking on Belal. Remember the name Mohammed. Wow, that's a terrible nickname. All right, got the same reach, minor advantage towards Vicente. Leg reach advantage goes towards Belal. Single strikes per minute favors Belal. He's landing about twice as many punches and kicks per minute as Vicente. Strikes absorbed though, Belal, he's eating a lot of punches too, so you can make consideration. Takedown average about the same. Takedown accuracy favors Vicente by a huge margin. Takedown defense favors Vicente. Submissions favors Vicente. I'm going to go with Vicente. Go with a good defense when the offense is very similar. I think Belal gets some good shots in. Vicente takes him down, grounds him out. I think we have an early third round stoppage victory on the ground for Vicente. Moving along to Fight Pass. Jim Miller taking on Thiago Alves. Yes, the guy who fought GSP at UFC 100, still around, fighting on free shows now. Let's see what we got here. That's a tough one because the height's pretty much the same, the reach is identical. Thiago Alves is getting more significant strikes per minute, but that was probably recorded like 8 years ago, so how accurate is that? Submissions favors Jim Miller by a huge margin. Takedowns favors Miller. I'm going to go with Miller just by proxy of the fact that he's been fighting more frequently. I think he's a little bit fresher. Thiago Alves is probably overall the better fighter, but he's had some time off. Jim Miller, he's been fighting very recently, and he's looked pretty good too. I think Miller goes in there and he wins it. Second round submission. Rafael Natal taking on Tim the Barbarian Boach. Wow, blast from the past here. Height's the same, reach pretty much the same, striking very, very similar. Takedowns favors Rafael. I'm going to go with Rafael. I think he goes in there and just wins a very ground and poundy kind of fight. Unanimous decision. Really don't have to go into that too much. And opening the show, we've got Liz Carmouche taking on Caitlin Chukagian, whose nickname is Blonde Fighter. What the hell? They really call her that? That's her nickname, Blonde Fighter? What? That's just the worst. Oh, it's terrible. All right, well, anyway, she's undefeated. Liz Carmouche is 9-5. Chukagian, what's that, the Babadook or something? I just don't get it. She's got a 3-inch height advantage. Strikes landed per minute, very, very similar. Defense favors Caitlin. Takedown defense favors Caitlin. Submission, slap favors Carmouche. Yeah, I'm going to go with this Chukagian gal. Just because I like her stats a little bit better, and Liz Carmouche is also on a downward trajectory. She had a good run, but just don't think she's really got enough in the gas tank to have a prolonged career. And I'm gonna go with Caitlin. It's like her stats; she's undefeated. I think she'll make a name for herself early. Should be a very, very entertaining little contest. Gonna go with Chukagian to win her curtain jerker, just because. All right, so that's it. That is UFC 205, one of the most stacked shows I've ever seen in my life. I'm excited about it. It should be great. There's going to be some upsets maybe. There's going to be a lot of knockouts, some good submissions, a lot of huge names. It's going to be one for the record books, folks. If you're not preparing to see this one, you're not an MMA fan. I'll be there November 12th. So should you. These are my picks. I might be right. I could be wrong. But as always, I'm probably right.